All right, hi guys. So hopefully I'm trying a different stream here. So let me make sure everything is up and dandy. Um, First time trying to do this, but anyways, let me introduce myself. My name is Jonathan, and this is Coding Your Career, my channel where I do videos on coding. I'm a senior software engineer, and I'm also a boot camp instructor. So I've been doing boot camps, about 13 boot camps so far. Had a bunch of people graduate and move on to bigger and better things, which is kind of cool. So essentially, I am doing a large project in solidarity with my students. So basically, the idea is they're doing their final boot camp project, which is showcasing all of their skills for the year. And so I thought, well, why don't I do it with them? Like, why don't I, join them and hopefully, like, if they see this, like, hi guys. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of a way for me to do a much larger project, something that isn't just like a CRUD app. Like I feel on YouTube and a lot of other places, you basically just learn to write a CRUD application. For those that don't know, CRUD stands for Create, Read, Update, Delete. It is a pretty simple thing to do once you get past the basics of coding. So it isn't really impressive in terms of, hey, I want to get a job, I want to show this to a company, like, cool, will you hire me? Like, they're not going to hire you mostly based on the CRUD app, especially nowadays when the competition is so much more like stark than it used to be. So in a lot of ways, there's just a lot of stuff you got to do more so than you would have to done like even 5 years ago, to be perfectly honest with you. Like I've been having people tell me all sorts of horror stories. Like a friend of mine had like 400 some odd like job applications and things like that. So it's definitely out, like pretty much hard sledding out there. But enough about that. Let me talk about the project I've been working on. If you were here last stream, you probably saw me set it up, but this time I'm working on a ticketing app. So it's not CRUD. So basically, what it means is I'm going to be doing an application pretty close to what I would do if it were like a real application. So like real libraries and real things I would like to do. And it's going to be the business logic will be fairly complex. So that way it will require having to use more difficult techniques rather than just trying to shoehorn things in. And so I got started last time with doing a lot of setups. So why don't we just dive straight into it? And what I'll do is I'll first talk, okay, about what I did last time, and then like in the between. So like I've done like a lot of things like extra. Let me move this around. There we go. All right. So, what did I do last time? Like, what improvements have been made since last time? I basically built out the CRUD functions for the tickets. So I also made a goof last time. I don't know how I even came up with this, but when I was modeling, I have a ticket, and the ticket represents someone having a problem, and they need to turn the ticket in. It's got priority, severity, its status. I added ticket type recently, so we could categorize tickets based on like what the problem is and a bunch of other stuff. All right. And then I made a ticket user. So the person who's assigned to the ticket, it could be the person working on the ticket, like, actually performing the work to based on what the ticket says, or it could be a person who just like is interested in the outcome of the ticket. And so later on, one of the things I want to be able to do is like add and swap out people on the ticket so they could be like, there's like visibility, quote unquote. So that way, like, people can like check to see the status of like work as it moves along the workflow. So another thing I did, I had like made these other two classes that was like silly. I looked at myself on stream, like, what were you thinking? The only difference was that the ticket user has a role. So like support or visibility. What else did I do? I also took department and location and separated them into two different classes. So the department has a location. So it's a one-to-one relationship. And then look that way, like there can be like IT, like the department of IT, and then there's like IT in different locations. All right. And that way, like it's still the overarching department, but it has like multiple like have another location. All right. So I did some changes to the models. And as you probably know, there's also in GitHub, I have the link. So the link should be down in the description to GitHub for this video. So if you want to like take a look at the code, okay, and see like how I'm like, what I'm doing as I go along. If you want, like, if there's like any cool examples you want to look at, it's all up on GitHub. Okay, so besides that, Essentially, like what I'm doing as far as architecture is I'm doing more like vertical architecture rather than like N tier. So typically with like N tier, by the way, if you're one of my students, you know I love to use Microsoft Paint. But like N tier basically is that your application's kind of like a wedding cake. So like you have different layers, like you'll have controllers. So like controllers will be the things at the top, and the controllers will talk to the services, and the services will talk to the repositories. Okay, it'll be like a wedding cake, right? And so no layer will circumvent the other, right? Controllers don't talk directly to repositories. The services have to act as a go between, and there's just no way around it. Now, the cool thing is that in vertical architecture, if you're taking slices, instead of having your whole application just be like a wedding cake, instead you have like silos. So let me get rid of this. So it's like kind of like flipping this around almost, but instead we have like one business domain. So it's like ticket management. And then you may have like user management. I'm just like throwing these out there, but just examples. User management. All right. And so like that. And they're each their own little slice of the application. And so instead of having like, just overarching controllers and services, you have like everything that's related to user management is in this one section, and everything related to ticket management is in this other section. So that's pretty cool. I'm trying it out, and I'm using a library called Mediator to kind of help me do this. I've never used Mediator before, but I finally got up and running, so I'll show you how that works in a moment. But hopefully, like this makes some kind of sense. And so in here, you still have a controller, like there's still like a ticket controller. So I may not necessarily be doing slices correctly, but we'll see in a moment. Okay, so you have like a ticket controller. Come on now. There we go. And then in the ticket controller, you'll have like a handler. Okay, so in this like ticket management like silo, you'll have like a handler, like different handlers, like a create ticket handler. Okay, which I mean does exactly what it says that it does. All right, so everything inside this slice of the application just essentially is for managing tickets. All right, and that's it. And everything in the user management silo stays there, and so it's more like domain oriented. So you're instead of thinking like about how you're going to do like the wedding cake, you're thinking about how we're going to like manage to like deliver this like business requirement. I kind of like this kind of thinking. I still kind of find it like it's still kind of like tiers to me. I don't really see how it's not, but we're gonna we're gonna try it out and see how things go. Now I'm using a library called Mediator, and let me just kind of show you. So manage to get packages, and here's Mediator. And essentially, it allows us for me to do like command query responsibility segregation, CQRS. I think that's what it stands for, command query response segregation. And what that basically means is like there are objects that represent wanting to do things, and then there are handlers that handle doing those things, but they're separated. Okay, typically in an application, you might mix those two together, right? You might have a service that, for example, creates a ticket and also handles the the request. So like the whole act of creating a ticket is one thing. And with Mediator, you're kind of separating them. There's the act of there's the like I want to create a ticket, and then there is the thing that handles creating the ticket, and they're like separate from each other. So you with Mediator, you'll have things called commands, and you'll have events and queries. Okay, so commands and queries are kind of the same thing. So let me show you like the create comment command. I'm sorry, the create ticket command. All right, so here's the create ticket command. It implements iRequest and returns a DTO of a ticket. And what this basically means is here's all the information you need to create a ticket. So I basically issue the command. Mediator will say, okay, cool, great, you've issued the command. What do you want me to do with it? What are you going to do about it? And there's a handler, which is the create ticket command handler. And you'll notice that with the request handler, it says, cool, I'm the person that like deals with this. Okay, I'm the person that deals with creating a ticket. And after I'm done, like, figuring that out, I'm going to give you back a ticket DTO. All right. So let's see here. All right, cool. So that's basically what's going to happen with that. Let's see, make sure everything is going right on the stream. My first time streaming with StreamYard. Haven't done that before, but so far it's been a blast trying to figure all this technical stuff out as far as video is concerned. Let's see. All right. So let's see. Looks like it looks pretty decent. Nice. Okay, cool. All right, so let's continue on. So hopefully that makes sense, right? So essentially, you'll notice that they're just two different classes. So the create ticket command class is the class that represents wanting to create a ticket. The handler is the thing that actually takes the command in and does the logic of creating a ticket. So any logic that goes into creating a ticket will go here. All right, and so they're separate from one another. And that may seem like overkill. And the thing that oh, hi Nazima. How's it going? Right. And so the thing that binds the two together is the mediator. So if you look at the controller, I have the ticket controller where I have like an example of me using it. So here's the create ticket. I'll explain what DTOs are in a moment, but we have the DTO, and here we have, let's see, mediator.send. So the cool thing about mediator, what I'm loving so far, is like the controller has like zero knowledge of like what's going on with the business logic, and I love that. That just sends chills on my spine. I love that. Because it's just like cool. Here's the controller takes in the command, it validates that the incoming request is fine, gets the user ID, blah blah blah, and says, "Cool, here's the command." And then it's everything is out of its hands past that point, and I love that. That is like chef's kiss. I like the way that this feels. And you will notice I have like mediator.send deactivate ticket command, mediator.send activate ticket command. So updating. All right. So the controller really has no clue about any of the business logic of what's going on. And that's just beautiful. Because controllers shouldn't really know about that kind of stuff. All right. As far as DTOs, this may be redundant. I was like really waffling back and forth when making these. Where is my create ticket DTO? There it is. But DTOs are data transfer objects, and in my application, they're kind of representing what I'm sending back to the client and what I'm receiving from the client. So, for example, like when the client wants to create a ticket, here's what I want from them, and here's the rules. So, for validation, like what's required, what are the specific validation rules for different things. And you could have this be the command, but I didn't want that because I wanted the DTO to represent the validation. So DTO's their job in my application is just to validate stuff. Okay, here, Mr. Client, this is what I want from you, and you validate it, and then the command will take all the information it needs and then go to the handler. So I kind of like to slice everything apart from one another in terms of what they do, and that does make more code. So as you can see, there's a lot of code. To like create a ticket, you've got the command. Where is it? Create ticket command. There we go. You've got the handler for it, the create ticket handler, and then you've got the DTO, and you got the, you know what I'm saying, the mapper. But a lot of this stuff, like I said, it's a lot of work up front, but then when you're like working, you're like adding new stuff in, it kind of just pops in, and that's a really good feeling. All right, so we got DTOs. I had all my DTOs. So I explained what those are. And I talked about the mapper. All right, so that's just like a static class, nothing special there. And we talk about mediator, what mediator does. Okay, again, so the difference between commands and queries is a command is something where it changes the state of the database. And a query is something that doesn't change the state, but you're getting information back. So I'm getting information back about the ticket. So I have a get all tickets query. That doesn't change the database at all, right? It doesn't add a ticket. It just says, give me what's in the database. Thank you very much. All right. And so I also did a couple other changes. The other big change was I wanted to do deactivation as opposed to deletion. So that means that instead of deleting records, I'm going to deactivate them. That way there's a record. I figure in most corporate settings, you'd want an audit trail of some variety. And so deactivating stuff will do that for you. Okay, rather than just straight up deleting things. It does add a little more code, but it's fine with me. So we did DTOs, we did the handler, we did mediator. Also did some testing. Okay, so I have a in case you're wondering, like testing with .NET can, especially with like Entity Framework, can be like kind of ugh sometimes. But they do have an in-memory database setup, which I like. So I made this little class to make an in-memory database, and there's a package for it, and so all my tests use it. But word of caution, you do if you do this kind of setup, you will need a one-time setup, like part of the test fixture. And then the other thing that I had to do was I had to make certain that the database got I delete the in-memory database for each one of my tests so that the database doesn't carry over from test to test, especially if you do asynchronous stuff, because what will happen is that you'll run a test and then another test will be running and the database will be like sharing state between the two different tests and you'll have false positives. Like the test will fail if you run them all together, but the test will succeed if you run it by itself. That's like your cue that to know that, oh, my tests must be sharing state between each other, which I don't want. I want my tests to be like very isolated from one another. So I have this part as part of the teardown, saying after every test, like make sure that that in-memory database is gone. All right, and then I can run everything. Actually, let me see if my tests are running. So let me run all my tests. Okay, they were green. Let's see if they all go red on stream in front of the entire world, or just a handful of people watching this on YouTube. All right, sweet. They all work. I could have more tests than this. This is like I probably did the minimum level of tests necessary. I didn't do enough edge cases. All right, but if you're interested in that kind of thing, a lot of companies, like pretty much every company I've ever worked at, they had a testing requirement. Like you couldn't just write code. You had to like 100% had to write unit tests. And some companies like Rocket were like really strict, like 80% code coverage or bust basically. So that was something I thought was again, I think it made me a better programmer overall, but like at the time it felt really super annoying because it's like I couldn't get anything through because like you must have 80% coverage or you will be destroyed kind of thing. But that's okay. All right, so DTOs mediator. We did that testing. Okay, my testing setup and why I did it that way. I did finish the API for the tickets. I didn't finish for the comments and the ticket users. I just didn't have the wherewithal to continue doing the CRUD functions. And eventually I'll get to that off camera. I mean, you guys aren't really here to see me do CRUD for the different entities, but you can see here on Swagger, which is very pretty. I love these colors. I've got my different endpoints. So activating, deactivating a ticket is a patch. Updating a ticket's a put, and I got gets and I got a post. And I do love Swagger that they put the models on the bottom. I hear it's going away in .NET 9, which makes me sad, but I guess maybe some developers don't like it. Whatever. I like it. I just got used to it. I also put the thing in for the auth token. So I can make a request for token from auth0 like so, and I can put it into this authorize box, put the token in here and hit authorize. And now all of my endpoints are authorized. And I did that. I made all my endpoints authorized because in a corporate setting, you probably would be on the corporate like IT like network, basically behind a firewall, and everyone would be authorized with like what's it called, Active Directory. So it is I want to write this API assuming that everyone's going to be like logged in. I probably would use Active Directory if it's for an actual real corporate app. So that way no one has to like log in or do anything. So that's going to be one of the things that's maybe not realistic in terms of like a real life application, but it's the best we got because I do have to have user management on some level. Which leads me to one more thing I did. Let's see. User lookup middleware. All right, so what I did is I made a command decision that auth0 is not going to hold information about my user's roles or like what department they're in or their location. I have found in my career that like it really is best if your own system owns the data about the employee. Like going to some other system to get data about the employee sucks. It's like really sucks. And so yeah, I don't really like doing that. All right, I got some people watching. That's kind of cool. All right, hello. I am working on a project with my boot camp students. I'm a boot camp instructor, and they're doing their final project, and it's going to be actually next week that they're going to present it. And so, in solidarity, I decided that I'll do a final project with them. Mine's going to be a little bit more advanced, all right, but something to kind of show something more than just regular CRUD. So I'm using .NET as the back end and Angular as the front end, and so just kind of show off some like more advanced techniques to do certain things. So right now I'm talking about authentication, so people being able to log in and log out, and then authorization. Hey, are you a manager? Basically, like, are you supposed to be here? All right. Do you have permission to do this thing? So I was talking about Auth0. So Auth0 will not know anything about like who the user is. Auth0's job is just logging the person in and logging the person out. Like that's all I wanted to do. And so I had to create this middleware that would grab the claim of the user from the token. So the token you get from Auth0 looks like this. It's a JSON web token, and you can grab claims from it. So if you go to like a decoder, there's like a JSON web token decoder, it looks like this. And you can actually pop the token in and decode it. And you'll see that there's these things called claims, which is essentially information about the user in the payload of the token. And then bam, that's my username. So like you can get information about the user. I could put other things in here, like their title and whatever else. Right? Oh, more people. Welcome. Just doing my project. So you can put more things in this token besides like their username and stuff. But I've done this before, and it is like really, really awful to when you have like two systems trying to like sync data. It is awful keeping them synced, especially when you don't own one of them. The Auth0 system, they have a way to like, upload user information, but trying to keep it synced between the two, especially if this were like a multinational corporation, I kind of feel like we just want Auth0 to log people in, log people out. When they come in, I use the database to find them, and then I will load the user into what's called the context, so that way the controller can use it. And so that way, Auth0 will tell me who's logged in, then I'll get the rest of their information, like who their manager is and like whatever else. Okay, if you're just joining, I am working on a project with my bootcamp students for their final project. They'll be presenting next week, actually. And I wanted to show them a little solidarity. I'm working on the project myself, a little more advanced, but kind of showcasing some more advanced stuff you might do in a project that's like beyond CRUD. So something that actually showcases real life techniques from like maybe a much larger, much more complicated application. So I was just going over like what changes I had made to the application since last we talked. And now let's get into some of the more interesting stuff. All right. So this is just more like, again, more like paving the road. Okay. A lot of at the very beginning, a lot of the application is like putting in everything you need for later, right? To make like stuff, your life easier at a later point. But user lookup middleware is done. So what do I want to do next? There's kind of a lot of things I need to do. I don't want to do CRUD stuff on air because that's kind of boring. I was going to talk about the state machine for the ticket. Okay, because I found a cool new library I do want to try. So here's a ticket, and one of the business rules that we need to apply. So like here's the thing, like this is something I learned. Like I got from mid-level to senior, not from actually learning more about code. Like I did learn more about code, but like getting from like mid-level to my first senior position, I asked myself like, what did I know, as a senior that I didn't know as a mid-level? And it had nothing really to do with my knowledge of like C# or Angular or anything like that. It had more to do with the fact that I got better at understanding business requirements. Like that was like the main thing that like I had been lagging for so long. And so like I started like practicing it more. And obviously if you want to move up the ladder, that's really what you got to do. Like you got to learn more C# and things like that. That goes without saying. But if you like want to like get promoted and stuff, learn how the business makes their money. That's my number one tip to anyone who's currently like a junior dev and like wants to get better, because like that is like the main thing you got to like learn. And so here, what I was thinking about was the ticket has a status. Let me go to my enum section and show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Basically, a ticket has a status, and the idea about the status is that the ticket goes from one status to the next, but you can't go just willy nilly, right? Like, so for example, the ticket starts off in the open status. Like, you have a new ticket, it's open. All right. Once the ticket's open, well, what status can it go into? Can it immediately be escalated? Can it go immediately to being on hold? So we have to ask ourselves these kind of questions. Okay, so like what happens to the ticket? Well, in this case, I think the design pattern that makes the most sense, and the one that came to my mind was state machine. So essentially, the ticket has a state, and it has to transfer from one state to the next, but it only can do so based on certain rules. So, for example, open tickets can go into in progress or they can go into resolved. What I mean by that is like the ticket's open, and then the person responsible for the ticket can say, yeah, we're ready to do work on this. We did our research, we asked our questions. Great. We're on it. We're going to go in progress, full speed ahead. And then otherwise, the people who are responsible for servicing the ticket could be like, we have no idea what you want. Like, nobody in our company does that, and we're not responsible for that. So we're just going to mark this as resolved because you're cray cray and move on with our lives. Obviously, they'll say that in a very like business, formal setting, but basically, like, nobody knows like what you want from us. All right. So we've got some people. Lovely. My name is Jonathan. I am doing a coding project. If you don't know, I own Coding Your Career, which is a YouTube channel where I do videos on coding. And so if you're just joining, I'm working on a .NET API front end. It will be Angular project. Okay, that will be doing something that's a little more complicated than just regular CRUD stuff. Okay, so since there's rules for how the tickets like status can change, essentially I kind of wanted a way to spell that out. I didn't want to just let it like the logic sit in the handler and then like future Jonathan or another dev just comes along and doesn't know that you can't go from an open ticket to an on hold ticket in one step and then have that like have a screw up waiting to happen. So I wanted something that just said like, here's a state machine. Like here is all the ways in which a ticket can change status and which ways it can't. There's actually a pretty cool library for that I found, which I didn't know existed. Let me see if I can find it. And it's called what is it called? Stateless. Okay, so the stateless library allows me to like basically use a state machine design pattern, which I think fits here. And so I kind of started on it. Okay, where's my helpers? Helpers, there we go. By the way, I sing to myself when I code. Here we go. So here's my ticket status state machine. And essentially it has a status and a trigger. So essentially, what status is it in, right? So like given a status, when this trigger happens, what status should the ticket become? And if there is no trigger, then the ticket cannot go into that status. So here we have the status of the ticket, and then we have the initial state. So the ticket starts at an initial state, and then we have the state machine, which says, cool, give me a status and a trigger in the initial state, and I'll tell you whether or not that ticket can go to the other state. And I love this. I absolutely love this because I'm sure that some other dev will say this is terrible or whatever, but I love this because these are the rules, right? Them's the rules. There's like no way people can be confused about this. So, for example, if the ticket is open, then if someone starts work, the ticket goes to the in progress state. If someone resolves a ticket, it goes to being resolved. This is what you can do with a ticket with an open status. This is what it can turn into, not other things. And so this other devs on my team will be able to like see this and they'll understand all the business rules for how like tickets should be like transferred from one another. So I absolutely love this. And so I have a couple. I'll do more as time goes on. I have to think about more like I'm making up the rules as I go along because this is my imaginary company. So whatever, I get to do what I want. But now after that, what we can do is I can add some methods. All right, so this is the constructor, and then let's add some methods. So we'll do like public bool can transition. So whether or not the thing actually can transition from one to the other. And I think it takes a ticket trigger based on, I'm looking at the documentation. Turn machine, state machine dot can fire trigger. So it'll be a true or a false. All right. Oh, cool. I got some more people. That's lovely. All right. If you're watching, my name's Jonathan. I'm Coding Your Career is my website. And I teach coding boot camps, and I'm a senior software engineer. And my boot camp students are doing their final project for the boot camp. And so I will be doing one with them. .NET is the back end, it's the APIs and C Sharp. And then eventually I'll do Angular in the front end once I got this API finally out the way. So right now I'm working on a state machine for ticket statuses. So in my fictitious company, which doesn't really exist, they've got IT tickets, which people submit and say my computer is broken or whatever it is that their problem is. And so now I'm trying to do a state machine to basically say if a ticket's in status X, it can be transformed to status Y, but only under these circumstances. So let's do a couple more. I need a transition to function, I believe, which takes in a trigger. And then what do you want me to do? You want me to fire. Okay, so we'll do state machine dot fire trigger. So it'll actually go to the trigger. All right, and then we'll do get current state. Get current state. And that will just return the state machine's state. All right. Oops, forgot the return keyword. Return. All right. So I've got my rule, I got my state machine. I don't need this. Get rid of that from the import statement. All right, and it will be able to handle the rules for how the state for the ticket's going to be changed. But there's still one problem because anybody could just do whatever they want with their ticket, right? So like if I go to like the handler, let's say I go to like my create ticket handler, create ticket command handler, I could just be like this, right? Like I could just say like the ticket status is this. So the state machine doesn't really have much power if someone can just make this, the status into whatever the heck that they want. And so I kind of don't want people just willy-nilly setting the status. I want to kind of control the flow. So that's encapsulation for you object-oriented programming heads out there. And what I'm going to do is I actually just thought of this. I'm going to actually make this setter for the status private. Okay, so that way you won't be able to just willy-nilly. Where's my handler? Getting used to my create ticket command handler. So that way this is not going to work. All right, so it's like, nope, you can't do that. You're going to have to use a method I'm going to make. So here's my ticket. I'm going to make basically a setter, like a setter method, which will use the state machine. So that means I'm going to need a state machine as part of the ticket. All right, let's do that. So we'll do private. I tend to do the private stuff before the public stuff. So let's do that. Private, read only, and then what do I want to do? Ticket state machine. State machine. Okay, cool. So now that's the state machine. And then I need the actual constructor. Public ticket. It needs an initial status. Sometimes this the IntelliSense is gets ahead of me. Ticket status. I think actually I'll just make it to where the tickets start off as like status. This dot status is equal to what do I want to do? Ticket status dot open. All right, so tickets will start off as open, which makes sense. And then what do I want to do next? I need to make the state machine because it's not instantiated. So state machine equals new ticket state machine. Okay, and then let's see. This dot state. So it'll be this dot status. Oh, status, duh, Jonathan. Okay, so that will be the initial status of the like whatever it happens to be. All right, so let's think about this. Okay, so it'll get this from there, and then if it's a new ticket, it will be open. Did I miss anything? I probably will have to think about this for a second because if I make this every time you make a new ticket, then that probably won't be necessary. I just need to set the state machine, and then the status of the ticket will be its initial state. Okay. And then what we need to do is we need a method to actually change the status. So we'll do public void change status. Doesn't return anything. And we'll say, okay, cool. Ticket trigger. Okay, so again, the whole point of the state machine is that if it's in this status to begin with, and you perform this trigger, this is what will happen to the ticket in terms of state. So I get to control exactly like what happens with the ticket. So let's go to the ticket, and then okay, cool, ticket trigger. And then I get to do if not state machine dot can transition to trigger. So this will test to see if this transition is possible. And if it's not, I'll do an invalid operation exception. Basically saying, no, bro, you can't do that. Invalid status transition. Okay, which I really wish I could in a corporate setting put no, bruh, you can't do that. I think it'd be a lot more entertaining. All right, and then if you can do it, you can transition to, and then I'll put the trigger in here saying, okay, cool, now you can do that. And then the status of this is open to state machine dot get current state. So the state machine will have a state of what the status should be based on the rules, and then I'll set the ticket to that. So now if you want to change the status of the ticket, you gotta put the trigger in. All right. And so I'm wondering if that's going to work though with entity framework when I pull it from the thing. Well, we're going to test that in a moment. Let's see if this actually will work. Okay, well, let's first off test to see if we can build everything. I'm sure I broke a bunch of stuff. Okay, also it's kind of cool. Like I'm doing this off the cuff so you guys can see like what I actually do with my job. All right, yep, that totally broke. Can't do the status. All right. Anything else that broke? Sometimes you have to do a couple times. Yep. We're gonna comment you out for the moment. I may put you back in if this turns out to be a bad idea. Okay, anything else? Sometimes the build salute. There we go. So can we build both? Can I build my testing solution as well? Yeah, I really would. It's nice to keep going. All right, let's see. Let me run my test too while I'm at it. I should have run my test first. Oh, there we go. Ha ha ha. All right. This probably is because of the stat escalate minor Spanish updated title. Okay, escalate, but was open. Yeah, that's why. Okay. So this is the updating ticket because you can't update it with all right. This update ticket exists succeeds is going to have to be kept on hold until I can test out. Okay, so we're going to come back to this test because I have to have my logic for how it transitions for state, and then I can do the update. All right, so I did the update beforehand, so actually it's good that this failed. All right, if that is the case, then what I need to do is I need to test the transitions. And then I've got, what transitions do I have so far on my state machine? I've got open and in progress. That's enough to get started. I'll do more later. I don't want to do the boring stuff on stream where you're just kind of like what like watching paint dry. But I do want to show like again like what people do. Like again, dev work isn't always glamorous. Actually, it's a lot of just staring at your screen and thinking. But it is very rewarding when you can solve a problem. All right, let me think. I don't think I should put them all in one file. I think I'm going to make a ticket state test. Ticket state tests. Okay, rather than having all my ticket tests in one gigantic file, I don't like the idea of that. All right, this will be public, and then we'll do test fixture. I can't say test fixture, by the way. Like I've never been able to say test fixture. All right, but it is something that I need to work on. All right. And then I do need all this stuff. So I global setup, cleanup, yeah, all this stuff. Maybe I can like put this into a sort of like setup class, but right now we're just going to bring it all in I need that in-memory database to make my tests go. All right, and so let's see. Okay, this is not totally TDD. I should have made the test first and then worked on the state machine. So we'll just kind of see. We'll just see what's going on with that. All right, test. All right, public void. Let's see. So I like to name my tests like initial state, do the thing, expected result. So initial state. So ticket is open, start work, ticket is in progress, right? So like, because like future Jonathan, when he looks at like when the apocalypse has happened and he has to like run his unit tests and he doesn't remember what Jonathan did, like old Jonathan did like 3 or 4 years ago, this name should help him figure out what this test is about. I'm hoping he's not always the brightest bulb in the box, so making things blatant for him is going to be key because he's an old man. All right, so ticket is open, starts work, ticket is in progress. All right, so I think I will need a ticket. Actually, I will need a department and all the other stuff. Maybe I should put it in this file because then I would have had all my setup stuff and I wouldn't be like, all right, I might do that. I might do that. Well, we'll think about it. All right, load basic ticket. So I had a little helper method, which I probably will put into a different place now that I'm reusing it. And it will essentially what I'm doing is I'm loading the department and the user and all the other crap so that I can have a ticket. All right. And so it won't have an opening status. Okay. It should be new ticket should be open. But we'll see what happens here. Okay. Maybe the private setting thing maybe won't work because it's pulling from entity framework. Because like what if the ticket were something else, and in which case you couldn't do this. All right, so we may change that in a bit. But let's keep going with this. Let's at least test to see if the transitions work. All right, so what do I want to test? Okay, I have a ticket. Okay, I await. Yeah, await. Oh, can't do async void, John. It has to be async task. God, you're on stream. Load basic tickets. Okay, cool. Got the ticket loaded. All right. And so this is a ticket that should be in an open state. I guess I won't be able to do that. So if the ticket starts off as because it's in the constructor, entity framework won't necessarily load. Like when it loads it from entity framework, how am I going to tell it to get what's from the database if there's no, it's a private setter? Ew. Yeah, that's probably not going to work. We're going to try it, but I don't, actually, now that I'm thinking about this, probably is not going to work. All right, but that's cool. We can roll with it. All right, so I've got my ticket. So var ticket is equal to what do I want to do? Await context dot tickets dot first or default async yada yada yada. ID is equal to 1. Okay, great. And then there should be a ticket, so I'm going to assert that the ticket is not null. Okay, so that there actually is a ticket in the database. Great, we got a ticket in the database. And then the ticket status, I wonder what it should be. I never set it here. So if I do it this way, it should be, well, that's kind of annoying. Let's see. All right. And because Entity Framework won't be able to do this, I need to actually, when I load it from Entity Framework, it needs to like do everything. Yeah, I can't do a private set. So if I can't do private set, I can't encapsulate. I can't force people to use my special getter. My special setter. Because Entity Framework won't just know to do that. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to see what happens. I'm actually curious now. All right, so I want to assert that the ticket is not null, and then I want to change the ticket state. So ticket dot change status, and the trigger should be, let's see what I do. New ticket trigger. Is ticket trigger a enum? Yeah, it's an enum, so I don't have to do new. Ticket trigger dot start work. So cool. We start work on the ticket. The ticket status should change now. So that should mean I should assert that the ticket.status is equal to, and if I start work, it should be ticket status dot in progress. All right. So the ticket starts off as who's open, and we do the start work trigger. The end result should be that it's in progress. All right. Watch this fail. Run my test. Okay. Now I'm really scared. Because that worked, and now I'm frightened. That's I don't understand. Don't understand why that worked. All right. So if that's the case, I still am like, what happens if it's a ticket that's not open already? Right? Like that's why I'm saying, like, what happens if I have a ticket that's like in progress? I want to change its state. When it loaded from Entity Framework, how is it going to know that if all the getters and setters aren't public? Because it won't be able to do that. I think that I can't do private set. That annoys me, but I think we just have to do regular get set and just have to go on use the state machine to help us with the business logic. All right. Oh, we got some people coming in. I'm Jonathan. Nice to meet you. I am doing a stream of myself coding basically an IT ticketing application. I'm a software engineer. I'm also a boot camp instructor. I've taught about 12 boot camps for coders to get them started in the coding world. And so I thought I would do a project along with my students to kind of help them, like, see what more complicated scenarios look like. It's something that's not a CRUD application, something that's a little bit more closer to home. And so I've got a fictitious company, and I'm making a ticketing app where people can submit tickets, and then it's for like a large fictitious multinational corporation. So it's got to deal with like different time zones, different languages, and there's like logic for how it's not just make a ticket. So it's got to be like, how do we transform status of tickets and things like that. So this should, if this is the case, let's run it again. I'm still being paranoid. Okay. So I can go from, all right. So I can go from the ticket being open, open, start work in progress. All right. So to fully test this, public async task ticket is, what do I not have something for? So if a ticket is open, so again, I like to do with unit tests like initial state, what are you doing? What do you expect? So like when you're naming them. So initial state is if the ticket is in progress, you can, right? So let's like try to make, like, let's try the negative, right? So if the ticket's in progress, is open, and you try to hold it, nothing should happen. Okay, so ticket is open, hold ticket, no change in state. Okay, so I think future Jonathan should understand what that means. God help him. All right. And then cool. So await load basic tickets. And then honestly, I don't really feel like typing all that out again. Cool. Go find the ticket. That ticket's not null. I'm a real stickler for like the way I do unit tests. I'm very like logically driven. Like some people like they like kind of like skirt, they try to do like little shortcuts and things like that. I'm like, no, like first you must assert that the ticket exists, then you must assert like everything about it is true, and like before and after. So like to give you an example, like that's why my unit test takes so long for me to do, because I'll do stuff like this where I'll have like just a gigantic block of assertions. So like when you update a ticket, I want to make certain that everything that was supposed to be updated was updated. Everything that was not supposed to be updated is not updated. So I'll go through every single property of it, where some people may only do like 2 or 3 things and they're like satisfied. Like I'm not satisfied. I want to like prove that the ticket was in this state before update, then perform the update, and then check the state of the ticket after the update and do everything. And that takes more time, but that I always feel that that's like a much better test. All right, so we're going to do the same thing, and I'm going to say ticket dot change status. And I think since I can't make this private because of entity framework, I think I'm just going to have to go on the honor system with the devs. And I'm going to do ticket trigger. Okay, dot Let's say I want to escalate. Let's say I want to hold it. Ooh, these triggers are nice. I'm actually really liking this. I want to assert that the ticket status is equal to ticket status dot open. So like there should be no change. So actually what I should do is assert it's not null and assert that the ticket's status is open is equal to ticket status dot open. All right. So that way it's a before and after picture. So like the ticket exists and it's open. And then I tried to hold the ticket so nothing should happen. Like the ticket should be in exactly the same state it was before the thing took place. And we should also spell the word change correctly. All right. Fail. 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 Yes. All right. What did I do? Oh, Jonathan, it throws an exception. It throws an exception. So it did do the thing you wanted to do, but you're actually asserting that it throws an exception. Okay, that's cool. What was the thing for that? I do have one where it throws an exception. I thought I did. Okay, assert. It's like assert throws. Where is I had an example, or did I have an example? Okay, so I actually did what you wanted to do. You forgot that it throws an exception. All right, there is a throws. I thought I did that. Okay, let's. All right, let's do this assert dot throws. All right, so let's go ticket state test. This is not true because it should throw an exception. All right, so what does that look like? It's like a lambda or something. All right, so I could grab it too. So I guess okay, here we go. Got it. Do assert dot throws, and then I have to specify in the generic what kind of exception it should throw, and what I say for it to do. I told you to throw a invalid operation exception. Ticket state test. You throw an invalid operation exception. And I think I could just like put the actual like lambda in here. I think I can. So I could do like, what does it look like? It is a parentheses and then a lambda. And then I can do ticket.change status. So that should go in here. Okay, and so that that makes sense because it has to run this in such a way that the test doesn't crash. So let's try that again. Okay, awesome. It threw the exception. Sweet. That's what I wanted. All right, so it will throw an exception if you try to change the ticket status. This will, let's see where I go the ticket. So change status will be something I will just use, but I think I'm forced to use getters and setters publicly from entity framework. So that does sadden me somewhat. Update. So am I still have any failing tests? Yes. All right. Oh yeah, updating. We're still going to have to deal with that, aren't we? Update may not be as straightforward as I thought it was going to be. Lucky me. We will come back to this. All right, let's save everything. I'm not going to do all the tests for the different state. I just wanted to do like one happy case and one unhappy case. So essentially, I've proven that like the state machine is doing its job. So the state machine is basically telling me whether or not I can change the ticket status to something else, and that will work. All right, sweet. So now off camera, I'll do the rest of that. Now I need to think about the actual assigning people to tickets when tickets are created. So that's another piece of business logic. So let's think through it. Again, this is not for a real company, but I want to keep everything as like real as possible. So it's going to be a little more complicated than your normal to do app. So let's think. So you create a ticket. By the way, if you're one of my bootcamp students, you know I love to use Paint to like think through things. It's like my brain canvas. So 28. All right, here's my new ticket. So someone creates a new ticket, and cool, hunky dory. We save it to the database. Everyone rejoices. But now we need to figure out like who actually cares about this ticket. Like, so we have the person who created, but like who cares about this ticket? Okay, like who works on it initially? So like that might change depending on whatever business rules we come up with, but basically like once the ticket's in there, like how do we actually like, assign it to somebody? And then how do we decide like who to assign it to? So I'm thinking other things that happen on ticket creation could also be like we may need to email the people or like what else would we do? We have to actually figure out this part first before we can email anybody. Because you can't email anybody if you don't know who the hell they are. All right, so who do we email? Okay. So, got some more people. So, welcome to the live stream. I am coding a .NET API with Angular front end IT support ticketing website, and we've been doing a lot of little stuff like state machines and things like that. Now I'm working out how I'm going to handle the workflow that results from creating a new ticket. So when someone supports, like someone puts in a support ticket, what happens afterward? So we do have to figure out who is working on the ticket and then who is visible on the ticket. All right, so that's one thing. We also have to email them, letting them know, hey, a ticket was made. Do we need to do anything else when a ticket comes up? Not currently. Maybe later I'll think of something. All right. So the cool thing about Mediator, okay, which is the library I'm using to help me sort of like break this up into more like workable chunks, is they have these things called events. So what I'm thinking is that when the handler, so basically you have commands, and the commands are issued, right? A command changes state, a query gets the state. So you issue a command or you issue a query, and then a handler will pick it up. So right now I have this create ticket command handler. So when you issue this create ticket command, this handler will raise his hand and say, hey, that's my job. I respond to that command. A mediator will make certain everybody like plays nice with each other. So since that's the case, I think what I want to do is I want to make an event saying that a ticket has been created. So what I'll do is I'll make a class and then I will make a ticket create event. Ticket created event. Don't need those extra curly braces. Don't know why they just don't get rid of those. And then iNotification is Mediator's interface for these. So what will happen is, and again, this is why I like Mediator so far. Like this is my first time using it on a big project. So we'll see if my love for it or my general positive feeling for it is going to last. But I kind of like this whole like everything is like decoupled, because like now this ticket create event, like it can like it's separate from everything. I can actually raise this event wherever I want. So when a ticket create event, I need the ticket ID to like know like what ticket was created. And then what else I want? I want to know like what department it belonged to. Okay, like who is responsible for that? Because the department will tell me who I assign the ticket to. All right, and then that should be good enough. I think the thing says it needs a constructor. So let's do a constructor. Ticket create event. Oh, that is scary, IntelliSense. That is absolutely frightening. Okay, just read my mind. All right, more people. Welcome. Okay, so let's continue. I create an event. It is implementing iNotification. And so now what I can do is I can make something that handles this event. So what will happen is the create ticket command handler will receive a command to create a ticket. It'll do its thing. It will raise an event, and then I can make other classes that respond to that event. So you may think this looks like one gigantic like game of mousetrap, like everything is disjointed. And it's like one person does something, and then mediator lets this other thing know. Like, why not have all this all in one gigantic blob of code? And honestly, I kind of like breaking everything up like this. It's easier for me to wrap my brain around what's going on. Also, for testing, it's going to be nicer because I can just test one thing. Like I have my create ticket handler. I don't have to worry about. I just have to test this. That's it. Okay, everything else, the validation, everything else is off on its own. I just test the handler. That's it. And so this event, I'm going to create something that will handle this event, and multiple different things can handle the same event. So I can have like in the future when I figure out what else happens when a ticket is created, because I've set it up this way, it's easy for me to add those things because this is the event will fire off and mediator will let everything subscribe to the event do its thing. So in the future, when I add new things that respond to the event, I just have to create them. Like I don't have to do anything with the original code or touch anything else. I just need to add them in. And so now I'm really liking this. The more I think about it, the more I like it. All right. So I've got the event and then I need a thing that deals with the event. Okay. So that's a handler. So ticket. All right. And then we're going to add a clause. And what do I want to call it? Assign users to ticket handler. That's very creative, Jonathan. Neat. And then it needs to inherit. Let me look at the documentation. iNotification handler. That makes logical sense. All right. And then ticket created event. All right. So, and then it's going to yell at me because I haven't done the interface stuff yet. Implement the interface. There we go. All right. And there we go. So basically, this event will trigger this handler to do its thing. I just need to publish the event in the handle. So in the handler here. So I need to put mediator in here first. Private read only. I mediate. Yes, I have to use the interface. And then we'll add that. Geez, sometimes like IntelliSense like legitimately scares me. Like that, like I know that that's a common pattern, but still, it was like Johnny on the spot. Like, yep, you want mediator? I got you, bro. I'm like, calm down. I still want to like have the feeling that I'm in control here. All right, and so we're going to. I think I have to publish this. What is publish? All right, so we're going to await because it's asynchronous. Mediator.publish. I don't want to publish a ticket. I want to do a new ticket created event. I think that has to be imported because it's yelling at me. Yep. And that will require the ticket ID and the department ID. That's why I have a constructor here. Haha. Ticket.id, ticket.department ID. All right. So not the department ID. Thank you. And then what else do I need? It needs a cancellation token. I guess I'll just pass the cancellation token through. There you go. All right. So when a ticket's created, it will publish this event. Anything listening for the event will do its own thing. So that way, this create ticket command handler does not need to know what you do in response to this event. It doesn't care. It just says, I created the ticket successfully. I sent out the event. And then Meteor will be like, hey, who cares about this event? And the assigned users to a ticket handler will be like, I do. I like totally care about that. And then it will raise his hand. And then in future Jonathan, when he has to do more stuff, when he has to have more stuff trigger off of the ticket being created, he can just make those independently of the create ticket handler, and I will not have to change any code in here. I am loving this. Okay, I am really now loving this. I am getting sold. Probably there's some video out there saying mediator is the worst thing since sliced bread. There's no need for it, and it's god awful or whatever else. But so far, I'm liking this. All right, so now we need to think. So we have this idea that we create a ticket, and we're going to figure out who cares about the ticket. How are we going to figure that part out? How is that going to make sense? Because if we think about it, we may have different offices in different areas, like in different countries too. So I may have like my New York office, and then I may have my Dallas office, and then I may have my, I don't know, Seoul office. I don't know, maybe we're like that international. And like an IT ticket in New York might be handled by different people than it would be in Dallas or Seoul. So I can't go off people's titles necessarily. It should be, let me think through this. I have people. I have like users here. They have roles, and they're at a certain location. And I should be able to say the role at this. Okay, how do I model this? A role at a certain location is the starting point of a chain, because I'm thinking when you do support, like when I used to do support, they were like the frontline people who like they were the ones out front who like got the tickets first, and then if they couldn't do it, they would escalate it to someone above them who could like who has like the manager signature or whatever to do it. And then if they couldn't do it, they could go like they could basically like hot potato it up the chain, but like the chain could be different depending on what department they're in. But I don't want to just say like IT has this one chain, and then tomorrow, like the people from like I don't know Dallas say that like they have like they're huge and they've got like 6 extra roles and they do their chain like this. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to model that. All right. I think I have an idea. All right. What if there were escalation, like a model for the escalation? So we'll call it like ticket escalation. Like, what am I going to call this? Ticket escalation. No, it's not a policy. I guess we'll just call it rule. Cool. We're going to call it a rule. And I'll persist in the database. And so we'll give it base model. In case you don't know, like one of the things I did was I put all the auditing fields that you're typically in a database, in a base model, like ID created by ID is active, blah blah blah. So I don't have to do all that stuff again. And okay, so what am I saying? Okay, well it has an ID already. That's fine. Um, it has a department because there could be different escalation rules for different departments. So it would need to know the department that it's in. That makes sense. It would need to know like the role, user role ID, public user role. Okay, it needs to know what role. So basically this department, but it needs to be this role escalates to this role. So actually it's more like starting user role and then like ending user role, like, or not net ending, next user role. That makes more sense. All right. So I need ID here. All right, that makes much more sense. So that's going to be essentially this department has this role, and when it escalates, it goes to this role. So that way, different departments can have different hierarchies of how it escalates depending on the kind of ticket. So I even actually that does make sense. I need to think about how, because different ticket types might have different workflows. So let me look at my enums. I do have ticket type. So like I just put some stuff here like finance, procurement, travel, compliance. If you're just joining the stream, welcome. I'm Jonathan. I am a senior software engineer. I'm also a bootcamp instructor, and my bootcamp students are doing their final projects next week, and so I thought I would join them. I obviously am going to do a little more of a expansive project, but I'm using .NET C# as the backend for the API. I'm doing Angular for the front end. As you can see, I'm very much in the weeds with the API. I have not touched the front end just yet because I still have a lot of business logic to do. And I'm using Mediator, and I'm doing a lot of other stuff to kind of challenge myself to write an application that's much more complicated. So, ticket type. I think we care about the ticket type as well, because different ticket types might have different escalation rules. So, like procurement in legal, they have like their own like chain of escalation than product development or sales support. That makes sense. And so I don't. Yeah, I think what this will do is this will give me enough leeway so I don't have to like in case they come up with bizarre rules like next week or whatever, I won't be like up till midnight fixing this stuff. So required, the department's required, the starting user role is required, and this user role is required. Okay, neat. That makes sense. And then I would need to know whether it's the end of the chain because like I need to know when to stop escalating. So that's just a Boolean. Okay, so that basically means end of the chain. So I don't want this going all the way. I don't want necessarily like tickets being able to go up all the way like to the CEO necessarily. Like maybe some do, but like most probably don't. The CEO is busy on his yacht, doesn't want to be bothered with that. All right, so that makes sense. All right, so we have ticket escalation rules. And so now what we'll do is when we assign a user to a ticket, we'll use these rules. All right, let's add these rules to entity framework. And where is my data? Here is my data, my AppDB context. And that's a ticket escalate. I am like really super like OCD about like capitalization in here, which is like it makes no sense. But I really like to make certain that ticket escalation rules. I like to make certain that they're in alphabetical order. I know that makes no sense. They don't need to be. Are there any rules? I think Entity Framework is going to complain because these are both user roles. So I'm going to have to use the Fluent API to figure out. Okay, so model builder dot entity, and then it's going to be ticket escalation rule. Neat, and that has one next user role. Oh, I do the actual next user. I have to use the navigation property there. Okay. Okay, next user role with one. I don't think the next that yeah, there's no navigation the other way. So that's blank. Has a foreign key. Next user role ID. Next. What is X then? What this? Okay, user reports to, right? This is next user role. It's a user role. Okay. It doesn't have it going back. So what the heck? All right. X dot, and then what is it? Is this a Boolean? I have to define the foreign key. What happens if I do with many? Do you still there we go. All right, with next user role ID. And then on delete behavior restrict. Okay, so I don't want cascading deletes and just deleting everything left and right. All right, and so I also have to define what it will do with the other one. So not ticket user, escalation rule. I don't mind long class names, especially when they're clear. That's one of my important things. This is not a function, Jonathan. It has one x dot. Where is it? Is active. Next user role ID. I did that already, right? Next user role, starting user role. With many has foreign key. Starting user role. Do I not have the ID in there? Oh, I've confused myself. I forgot to put the ID in here. Starting user role ID. There we go. Starting user role ID. Neat. All right. And then on delete, restrict. And then I also have to say it belongs to a single department. Entity ticket escalation rule has one x lambda x dot department. The foreign key is department ID, and on delete behavior restrict. All right, I do everything necessary. Foreign key, foreign key, foreign key. Next user role ID, next user role, starting user role ID, department ID, department. All right, I think that should do it. Okay, that should keep everything. So now I have a way to basically say, okay, cool. So let's do some TDD. All right. Um, all right. So what's the algorithm going to be? All right. Ticket state test, ticket handler test. Let's see. What's the name of this handler? What did I call it? Assign user to ticket handler. So we're gonna do assign users to ticket handler test. Handler tests. Okay, because it's a different class. Test fixture. I hate that word fixture. All right, and then I'm gonna bring my setup. I think off camera, I am going to probably put this setup stuff into like something that's a little bit more reusable. But here we go. I need to use my in-memory database. Okay, so as you can see, like the more stuff you use, I like the in-memory database because the other option I thought about was using Docker and using a library called test containers. So I could run Docker and it would spin up a SQL database and then run everything. I've used it before and I like it. The problem is I find it very slow and it makes testing slow even if you like run the tests in parallel, all that jazz. I found that it's like good for integration tests, but I found the in-memory stuff a little bit snappier, so that's what I went with. So let's see. All right, so I've got all this nonsense, and all right, so I need to do all right, what is the first test I want to do? Let's think about that. All right, what do I want to do? We're doing TDD, and so we're going to do public async task. All right, again, starting point. What did you do? What is the result? So if I have a ticket is created, um, so now I have to think about this for a second. Low priority, then it will assign to lowest person. So what I'm thinking is that some tickets may like leapfrog over the lower people. All right, I'm thinking some of the tickets may leapfrog over the people, but I that would depend on how the business wants to do this. The business may have the lowest level people be like gatekeepers and they can decide where to send things. So like we don't have a lot of noise for the higher ups and the executives. So if I allow the users to set their own severity for the ticket and to set their own priority, I could say based on a severity and priority matrix, basically like compare the two, say like for example like critical tickets that are like super severe, they go straight like to the manager. And so would that create noise for the manager if people start crying wolf? Well, you shouldn't be crying wolf at your job. You shouldn't be like making tickets that are super high critical for being a drama queen because your ass is going to be fired pretty quick. So we'll do the honor system. I do like the idea of that based on the severity and the priority, um, that it will like leapfrog over certain people. I do like that. There needs to be something for both though. All right. Will the ticket have the logic for that? What do I want to do? All right. So let's just start off light. All right, let's just start off light. Um low priority, lowest person. All right, cool. So I need to do my what are you angry about now? Oh, it needs the mediator. That's why I have to do mediator for this test because I broke the other test. Love it. Love it. I will deal with that in a moment. Well, I have to deal with it now because this test will fail and it will not run. So I'm gonna have to mock my mediator. Did I put mock in? I believe I have the mock testing framework, but let me double check. MOQ. Yes, I am. I have mock. So since that is the case, and this will need a mediator, this happens a lot when you're doing changes. Mediator, it's to do setup mediator is equal to new mock I mediator. So I'm going to mock this. Why do you care? Oh, because this has to be a mock of I mediator. There we go. And all right, and then you need the mediator.object. I'll pass that in, and then now you're okay. All right, so that should build. That way I don't have any build errors. I will have to, where was it? As the create, oh, I can just use this. So let's go, where was it? Create, update ticket, deactivate ticket, clean get ticket, load ticket, no query setup, valid ticket, user creation successful. Okay, and then I have to do the setup. So how do you mock that? Mediator dot setups. Ooh, I'm gonna have to use not the real mediator. Okay. I'll look up how to do this in a second. Mediator dot setups. Oh, I can't do that. Can I? Yes, I can. X dot, and then what do you do in the create command handler? What's that method? It's publish, right? At the mock this publish, or else it's gonna like error. Mediator dot setup. Setup set, verify set. It dot is any. What do you put in for here? What does publish take? Publish takes in ticket create event. Returns task completed. What are you angry about? What are you angry about? I did the mock setup so I could set up the publish. What do you want? All right. I think for the purposes of keeping going, okay, I will just leave this here. I do have to mock the publish so that this doesn't fail. Okay, but I am going to be more focused on trying to get this priority assigned to lowest person first. Before going back, I'm going to have to clean up my tests a bit. There's an error somewhere. Where are you? Nope, there's no error. Good. All right. So arrange, act, assert, 3 parts of a unit test. So I need a department that belongs to. So we'll do a new department. And I don't know what will the department be called. The name of the department is IT. And then what else is in the department? Okay, I need a location. So we need a location first. This is what happens when you have like lots and lots of nested objects, like one object that depends on another. It gets to be really, really, really the when you do unit testing, the arrange step becomes just terrible. Address, city name. So country is equal to, I don't know, USA. And then what else the hell was in there? Address, city name. Address is 123. City is equal to wherever. And name is equal to IT department. Well, no, the location is Dallas. Let's say it's Dallas. All right. And then we'll await. So we'll do context.add location, await context.save changes async, because we need to have the location ID be the ID of the location we just saved. So we have to save it first in order for it to have an ID. And so now the department we'll have the location and then a name. So this will be the name of the location. Great. All right, and then we'll save that. Context dot add. Sometimes the IntelliSense bugs me. Gets in my way. All right, so now we've got that. So we got location and a department. We do need a user. We actually need several of them. What does the user need and a role? Oh my god, this is going to be so much. Whew. All right, I may need to make helper functions for all this because this is going to be so many things. I already make a user. I think I did, right? There we go. I'll just reuse this one. Great. And this is the user. Okay, so let's think this through. One user puts in the ticket. Oh, and we have to also make sure, I just realized this, we have to also make certain that the user who puts the submission ticket in does not like get the ticket assigned to themselves. That's also something I just thought about. All right, so I will make a note of that actually. So make a test so that when a user submits a ticket, it cannot be assigned to them to do work on it. Yeah, we'll have to think about what happens if there's no one else that can work on the ticket, but we'll see what happens. All right. So I'll make a note about that to make a test for that. All right. So this is the guy who's submitting it. So ticket submitter. And then I got to make some employees. First name is, I don't know, John. Last name is Snow. Auth0 ID is equal to whatever. And email is whitewalkers@northernkingdom.com. And phone number is that. Great. And then we have employee number 2. And they're going to be first name Sansa, last name Stark. Okay, her ID is whatever as well. Auth0 is whatever. 2. Email is equal to, I don't know, what's it called? Winterfell? Yeah, Winterfell, I think is the name of the place in Winterfell at reallycold.com. And phone number. So, by the way, if you're wondering, do people do ridiculous things in unit tests in real life at companies? The answer to is unequivocally yes. Okay, people write all sorts of weird things in unit tests because they get loopy. All right, so I've got my users. I got the department. I do have to have their department, right? Because they belong to a department. Yes. So I will put them all in the same department. Department ID is equal to department department.id. And I will do that for everybody. All right, let's see. Yeah, so here I will make sure you all belong to a department. Okay, you're all in the same department. All right, neat. All right, I got the department. I got my users. So I got the location and the department. I've got my 3 users. One person will be submitting the ticket. The other 2 will decide. One of them should be basically what I want to do is I want to test that when someone submits a ticket, that one person gets it and the other doesn't. So I want to prove that like the lowest level person gets it. And then we have to think about what happens if there's multiple lower level people. This is going to be fun. This is actually wonderfully complex, even though I didn't mean for it to be. All right, love it. Let's do this. All right, we're going to add them to the context, the user, and the employees. Okay, so that we can save them. Do I need anything else? Does the user have the role ID assigned to it? Let me go see. I don't remember. Go to definition, blah, 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 department ID. User, yes, I got to make user roles first and who they report to. All right. So man, I'm going to have to probably make this whole arrange step into a helper function, right? So if you're just joining, I'm working on a .NET API C# backend, and I'm working on a project for like basically simulating like a support like ticketing company, where people can like put their tickets in and have someone from the office be assigned. And I did a whole bunch of stuff. So hopefully, if you're interested in looking at something a little like this project, the whole idea is to be more advanced, okay, than like a normal like CRUD application. So I'm gonna have a lot of like there's obviously you can see a lot of files and things. If you like, I have another stream from last time if you want to kind of catch up to where we already are. But right now, what I'm doing is someone puts a ticket in, I'm making sure it's assigned to the right people. And we may even do a little more complicated, but right now I need to like think through, okay, location, got that. Department, got that. Now, these users will all belong to a department, but this user is this other user's manager. So if that's the case, then I can save the first two employees. I'll have employee one be employee two's manager. Although technically it's the other way around, right? Whatever. And it like Sansa will be Jon Snow is king in the north, so he'll have to be her manager. All right, so I need him. He has no manager. He has no manager. All right, cool. And so we'll save that. And then your manager, your reports to ID will be employee one's ID. Oh man, I'm gonna probably need a helper function to like make the whole org chart. Where's the VB? We do not mention Visual Basic on this stream, sir. Okay, you're gonna have to. I'm sorry, but you're just gonna have to turn around and leave. We do not talk about Visual Basic. I still have PTSD. So, like, long story short, my junior dev Jonathan had to do his first project in Visual Basic, like at his first job, and I would not wish that upon my worst enemies. It is one of the most horrible languages out there. No Visual Basic, no thank you. All right, so we do the C sharps around here. All right. All right, you report to you. Okay, great. Await context. That save changes async. All right, I think I've got my employees down. They all belong to the same department. Actually, I should have this. Should I have this other person from another department? I think I should. So they're in the same location, but they're from different departments. I don't know. Human resources. Oh, I just realized how much unit testing I'm going to need for this. Oh my god, I think I walked into a trap here. This is not going to be pretty. Location ID. Come on, IntelliSense. You're supposed to read my mind. All right. We'll save both departments. Human resources. All right. And then we'll save both departments. Cool. And then you, the first user, are from human resources. Great. And then you're putting in a ticket, and the other people from IT will get it. This guy is the drone, and this person is the manager. Oh, beyond this, there's tons of complication. Like you can't have the ticket go back to you. You have to like there has to be someone there for like there has to be like someone like at the job. I guess we're assuming there's going to be employees. All right, let's go with it. All right, so what else do I want? I got the department's location. I got employees. All right. Honest to God, I think I'm just going to make this into a like helper method. I just the look of that made me cringe. Private async task. Build example. I'll come up with something better than that, but whatever. Okay, so that way we can reuse this. I'll just put await build example here. All right, so first case, what I want to do. All right, ticket is created low priority. Assigned to lowest person. Different department. I do need to note that. All right, so I've got my employees. All right, and so do I want to test the whole sleigh ride, or I don't really want to do that. I just want to test the handler, the assign user to ticket handler. I don't want to start testing the whole. I could test the whole flow too at some point. I think I need to test just this handler first. So I will need a ticket created event. So let's build that. So ticket created event. Ticket create event equals blah, blah, blah. New ticket create event. All right, cool. Oh, that's right. It's a constructor, Jonathan. All right. Ticket number 1 and department number 2. All right. Which means we need a ticket, right? I'm kind of assuming the ticket exists. I think we can make that assumption because everything that happened before, this wouldn't have happened if the ticket like creation failed. So since the ticket creation did not fail, therefore ticket exists. Therefore, I can get away with doing this. Got it. All right. Var handler equals new assign users to ticket handler. Not the test. By the way, IntelliSense and I have words with each other all the time. All right. Obviously, we're doing TDD, so there's nothing in there. So I'm going to have to put the context and things in there. So now, what do? I say basically, what's the before and after? I do need the ticket in the database. Ticket equals new ticket. All right, its ID is whatever, and then this is the ticket that the first person put in. So its priority, I'll make the priority and severity really low. Priority equals ticket priority. No, I don't. Why do you do that to me? I don't want the fully qualified thing. Thank you. It's gonna be low, not critical. Low, thank you. And severity will be the lowest. So it's minor. Language will be in, I don't know, German. Okay, wir sind international. And then what else do I want here? All right, we got the language, we got the status. The status should be open. So because it is a new ticket, I'll hold open. Anything else? Title description. Title is, oh my God, everything is on fire. Description, didn't you read the title? And we'll put some extra exclamation points in there for spice. And let's see, department ID, this is for human resources people, I think. So it's for IT, right? Okay, who, like, this person, right, is from human resources and they're putting it for IT. IT is this guy, the first department. So that is going to be for department number 1. All right, cool. And then I don't ever care about comments or users. So that's not going to happen from the beginning anyway. All right, cool. So that's my ticket. I'm sticking with it. All right, which means like, ooh, fly in my face, which means that this up here needs to be 1 because which is the department. So let's be IT is 1, not 2. All right, cool. Glad my coding is so amusing to you. All right. This is what I look like at work, by the way. I look crazy because I'm trying to like use my brain power to solve this problem. And it's like, it's always like full, like programming to me is a full body contact sport. All right. I'm going to save this ticket. Oh, it's C#. So basically, if you just joined the stream, I'm a bootcamp instructor. I'm also a senior software engineer, and my students are doing their final project. And so, in solidarity with them, I'm doing a project with them. And so the back end is a C# API. So .NET is the framework. And eventually, if I ever get this API finished, which who knows, it will be, I'll have an Angular front end, okay, eventually. And so I am using Mediator as a way to do command query responsibility segregation pattern. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a project that was pretty complicated, something that was more realistic than like doing just a CRUD app. So I am knee deep in trying to do TDD, test driven development, right now. So what I'm trying to do is when someone puts a ticket in and it's low priority, to make certain the right people, okay, get will be put in, will be like assigned to the ticket, both for visibility and for like we're the ones working on it. All right, so cool. All right, the ticket is saved. So we got the ticket. Cool. I assign user to ticket. Then what should happen, Jonathan? What should happen? The ticket, you need to have it first. Actually, you need to get the ticket. Um, var ticket is equal to await context dot tickets dot first or default async lambda lambda. Cool. All right, and then assert that the ticket is not null because I'm hardcore like that. All right, so I'm also going to assert that the ticket status should start off. Well, no, I'm not. This is not a ticket status test, but honestly, like that's part of it. Is equal to ticket status dot open. All right, that it should be open. All right, so we have an open ticket. It has just been created, and so there should be no ticket users. Is equal to, so there should be none, no ticket users at all. All right, so just be a ticket. It's just been created. It's open, and no one's been assigned to it. Okay, all those three things should be true. Then we have an event that says, hey, somebody created this ticket and assigned it to the IT department. Then we run the handler saying to us that that event has fired. And now I run some business logic saying, here is like who the ticket should be assigned to. Neat. So then for the result of this test should be that I should grab the ticket from the context again. Async ID equals 1. Do I say IntelliSense? First or default async. Oh, because it's await, Jonathan. Await. Thank you. All right. Now that means that the ticket should not be null. Like, because it should not be have been like destroyed in like the handler. And then the end result should be that the status, honestly, the status shouldn't change. Because when we first assign a ticket to somebody, it's just going to be an open status. Then, like, I'm thinking the business logic is going to be when you first create a ticket, it's an open status. The person assigned to the ticket's job is to figure out whether or not it's something actionable. Like some people put like nonsense in for tickets or something that doesn't make any sense. And so I'm gonna let a human decide if it's like nonsense or not. If it's not nonsense, the human will go in and they will change the status of the ticket to in progress. Or if it's like BS, then they'll be like, we resolved this. Like you asked for something that didn't make any sense. Okay. Yes. So I'm going to assert the ticket priority is low. That's I forgot that. I should make sure of the priority because that's the part I actually care about. So the priority is equal to ticket dot priority. It should be actually equal to, what the hell did I set it to? Like priority is low and severity is minor. So what we're going to do is priority is low. Ticket priority is low. And we're also going to assert that the severity is minor. So it should start off as that. So, honestly, they're all C based languages. So what that means is that they all derive from C. And so because they all derive from C, they all, for example, have curly braces, for example, to do like block scope. So the fact that a lot of the programming languages that are based off of C look like each other is by design. Okay, Python's kind of the redheaded stepchild. That's the one that uses like indentation. But C and like if you look at like C sharp, Java, JavaScript, honestly, that a lot of the stuff is looks pretty similar. All right. It's an open ticket. It has low priority. It is minor, and there is nobody assigned to this sucker. And so, therefore, all this stuff should be the same. The status of the ticket is priority and should not be changed by assigning the ticket to somebody. However, the ticket user count should be 1 because it should be assigned to. And again, let me double check myself. These people both work for IT. They're both in the same department. This guy is this guy's his boss. So this is the person that should be assigned the ticket because they're lowest on the totem pole. Okie doke. Which also therefore means that this is the assertions about the ticket. I also have to make assertions about the person. So if this, I can put that here. So var assigned employee is equal to ticket dot ticket users at the first one because I've already asserted that the count should be 1, so therefore this will not fail. Or if it does, like if the assertion failed, it won't ever get to this line. All right, and then I can make some assertions about the assigned employee. The assigned employee dot first name blink blink blink. Oh, I gotta do that user. There we go. First name is equal to Sansa. I assert that the assigned employee last name is equal to Stark. Okay. By the way, if you ever wanted to know what being a senior dev is like, this is what it looks like. Good question. I'm going to go over that in a second. So, it's not based on seniority. If we did it based on seniority, then like that, like in real life, that would crumble so fast. Because like people's titles in real companies are like there's such nonsense. Like you're Grand Vizier of engineering. You are like Imperator of control system. Like there's such nonsense titles that if I did it based on seniority, that would just be that would suck. Sansa Stark, and then I'll just do like one more thing, like email. Signed employee dot email is dot equal to, and then we'll just put that crap here. There we go. All right, cool. So obviously I'm going to later on do more. I don't want to bore you guys on the stream, but essentially this is, let's go through the logic. So I build my database. I grab a ticket to prove that it exists. It exists. It's open. It's a low priority minor ticket where there are no users assigned to the ticket. I have an event. I then will have a handler. And I actually need to actually do something with the handler, Jonathan. I need to await handler dot handle and ticket create event. What else do you need? You need a cancellation token. Well, you're not going to get one. You're going to get none. That's what you're going to get, and you're going to like it. All right, so it gets no cancellation token. So after it handles the event, then what should happen is if I grab the ticket, it should basically be in the same state, except it should have a ticket user associated with it now because someone's been assigned to it. So the state of the ticket itself should not have changed. The only thing that should have changed is the number of users that are assigned to the ticket, and it should be exactly 1. then if I look at the user that was assigned to the ticket, they should have these properties of like name and email and things like that. All right. Obviously, this test will fail because I haven't actually written any logic for this. Okay, that's TDD for you. Okay, I want to first make certain everything builds. All right, exactly. So that will of course fail automatically. All right, now the way in which I'm going to handle figuring out who quote unquote is the lowest on the totem pole is I made a thing called ticket escalation rules. So the way ticket escalation rules will work is it's tied to a department, it's tied to roles, and basically what it says is this department, if like basically starting at this user role, if the user role of the person's here, then when you escalate it, it goes to here. So basically what it means is it's going to be like, cool, this is the role of starting the chain. Here's the next role. What kind of ticket does that work for? This kind of ticket. Is this the end of the chain? Yes or no? So that way, each department has its own custom chain of people, and I'm not relying on who works for who. Because in the future, we may have like projects that are like inter-team. And so if I had a project that had like multiple teams working on it and I use seniority, I would screw myself because how am I going to make it so that it cuts across the different teams? So this way, it's all it does is looks at roles irrespective of like who works for who. Okay, and it's based on department. That way, each department at different locations can have their own chains. All right, so in which case, we're going to do the escalation chain. Glad I made this a helper method. Like, let's see, ticket escalation rule. All right, and then the department that this ticket is assigned to, this ticket is assigned to is IT. So that's the ID of this first department. So the department ID is the first department.id. All right, that's fine. What else is in here? I need roles. Before I can do this, I need roles. Man, this arrange step sucks. User role. Let's see. Noob role is equal to new user role. So this is the noob, and then this is the new boss. So probably have to do these first before I do the users. There have to be role is a foreign key thing. So before the users have to do the roles. Okay, don't you want to do this for 40 hours a week or more? No, it's actually a good job. But it is much on the brain. All right, so the noob role is what properties does this have? Go to definition, name, description, list of users. Okay, cool. All right, name, IT grunt. Description, do what we don't want to do. Okay, name. Okay, IT, I don't know, guru. Description, ascended to a higher plane. All right, so that's what you did. All right, so they ascended to a higher plane already. So the grunt works for the IT guru. Cool. All right. I don't have hierarchy and rules, right? Thank God. Okay. So we're going to save this. Text add noob role. And then await save changes async. Okay. And so then now that those roles are saved, I can use them for this. So you are a noob. User role ID is equal to noob role.id. And you're the boss, right? Right. Oh, and I make another role for this the human resources person. HR noob. Name HR noob description makes org charts all day. Fate worse than death. All right, HR noob. All right. Welcome to the stream, new people. All right. So I am building a .NET API for a fictitious company, and it is a support ticket app where you put support tickets in and hope that someone comes to help you. I'm using much more advanced techniques. I also, if you are interested, in the description of the video is my GitHub repo where I'm keeping track of all my codes. If you see something cool you want to do for your own project, you could take a look. All right. And so HR noob, you are hrnoob.id. And then you are the IT noob. So what the heck did I call it? New boss, new role, and then you are the boss. No, you are the boss. Because you report to somebody else. So I'm going to call you noob role. Okay. You're learning JavaScript to switch careers, be a front-end developer. So, Peter, I'll tell you one thing. I'm self-taught too. So don't let that discourage you at all. All right. I did not go to a boot camp. I do not have a degree in computer science. Everything I do is through like the horrific pain and suffering of my first few years of being on the job. I basically used to be a teacher actually until 7 years ago, and then I quit teaching and I decided I'm gonna be a software engineer. And I went home and studied and studied and studied and forgot half of everything and studied some more and suffered through my first job. And I got to be senior about 2.5 years. All right. And so like you can do it. It's gonna be rough in the beginning, especially to convince people to let you into their company, even though you don't have any background in it. You might have to like talk your way through and really promote yourself, but it's really worth it. Okay. That's also why I wanted to do this project because I've been teaching for the past 2 years. Like I haven't had a project to really sink my teeth into. That's like really complicated. No, like my students, like they're great, but they're like beginners. So I don't do like mediator, right? We don't do state machines. We don't do this level of like TDD and things like that. I don't get to do that with my students, so my skills kind of get a little bit rusty over time. So like that's kind of the other reason why I like this project. It keeps me kind of sharp. All right, so you guys have these roles. Okay, so now I've got the roles that the people are in. I've got the users, and now I'm going to make my ticket escalation rule to say this is the like lowest rung, and then this is how it escalates within this department for this type of ticket, which means I have to make sure I have a ticket type. Ticket type is ticket type dot IT support. All right, cool. So because later on, like you may have different kinds of escalation rules for different kinds of tickets. And so a lot of what I'm doing is I'm not actually going to program everything. My main idea is like how do I make it so future Jonathan doesn't tear his hair out when someone asks for a change? Like, that's the main thing. Like, future Jonathan is going to have to make changes based on like whatever random thing the business wants. And is he going to tear his hair out, like what little of it is left, or is he going to be happy? All right, we're trying to make him happy. All right. What do I want? Department ID. Okay, cool. And then what else is in ticket escalation rule? All right. So the starting user role ID is the noob role. And then the next user role ID is the new boss role. And then do I need anything else? The ticket type is going to be for IT ticket type is for IT support tickets. And is this the final level? No. Okay, there's still more chain to go. All right, cool. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll call this ticket escalation rule step 1, and then I'll call this ticket escalation rule step 2. Obviously, we can go further. What I plan on doing is like this, like all of this is set up for the test. That's what's so disgusting about this. All of this is set up for the test. I'm going to research if there's a better way to do this. I do have to like think through who is in relation to what and what roles exist and things like that. So I do need to keep those things in mind. But man, this is a lot. All right, this is going to be the final level. And then the starting user role is new boss ID. And there isn't a next role because we're at the top. Okay, is that going to test it properly? Okay, so therefore, this should say that the person with this role if it gets both of them, it should get the one. How is it going to know that this is the starting user role? All right, I'm trying to see if I actually like. I need to know whether it's the start of the chain or the end of the chain. If I have two of them, I can't know which one's the other one necessarily, can I? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Because I could do it recursively, and then I can get to the one that's lowest. So basically, I could get the one that's like order by, and then get the top one. Okay. Don't need a Boolean for that. Context.add. Step 1. Context.add ticket escalation. Step 2. All right. And then await context.save changes async. All right. So I think this should sufficiently model ticket escalation rules by department and ticket type. So that way, every department, and honestly, even within a department, each department can handle different kinds of tickets with different rules. And so I will let Dallas office do whatever crazy thing it does, and this other office do whatever crazy thing it does, and that should be hunky dory. Okay. So that means my test should eventually. All right. So now I actually have to, since we're doing test driven development, I wrote the test first. Okay. So it's called TDD. It's where you write the test first and then you write the code, and eventually you try to write the code such that the test will pass. And I don't do TDD all the time, to be honest with you, even though like the company will be like, we are a company that does test driven development. All of our developers know how to do it. A lot of the developers don't do it. They write their code first and then they write tests to back up their code because that just tends to be easier. I do test driven development because it helps me to wrap my brain. I like to do it for problems where I don't actually think, I'm not sure that I understand the business logic as well as I think I do. Because part of coding, and again, like my personal advice to anybody who's listening, and you're like a junior dev or like maybe mid-level dev, and you're like aiming higher to become senior, the actual biggest thing that separates a lot of the higher performing devs from like the mid-level people, the lower people, is actually being able to understand like business rules. It's not like you can learn more advanced C# or more advanced JavaScript or what have you, and that's cool and that's good. But like my first boss taught me that like being able to sit down and understand business rules on like a deep level is actually worth more in a lot of circumstances than being able to like use delegates or understand like events or all the design patterns. Like honestly, I don't mean to diss him, but like I probably knew more design patterns after a certain point than he did. but he didn't need them because he totally understood like what the business wanted, and so his software was well received because he knew that it like served the needs of the people he was making it for. I struggled with that. I felt that the people I was making the software for were like why won't you just use the software the way I tell you to? Well, Jonathan, you're being paid to make it so that they want to use it, so that they it actually adds value. So you need to understand what they want. And the second I had that like shift in focus that like I need to make this to serve people, so therefore I need to be good at like the business of this, is when I started getting better. Like my software like was more well received, and I got like I knocked more of it out, and it didn't even like use any advanced techniques to do anything. But like once I understood the business better, and so like one of the things I do is I do TDD to force myself to say, do I actually understand the problem? Like, do I feel that I understand? Do I actually understand? So here I actually like went through and said, okay, cool. Like this is the before and after of figuring out who should be assigned to a ticket. All right, so now I need to figure out. The only thing I'm thinking about is how am I going to tie it to this person? Do like roles? Like one thing I thought about is having a matrix of like the different combinations of priorities and severity. I could assign that points, and then I could say, okay, cool. Like if it's like below this threshold, then you assign to this person. If it's above this threshold, so I could have a point system. I'm thinking about that. Let's knock something out first, and then let's see what we can do about that. I do like having a point system because I think, yeah, I actually like that because there's kind of like no way to know the escalation rules for any given department, but we could have point thresholds. I like that. The more I think about it, the more I like it. All right, let's do that. Let's do point thresholds. So a point threshold is basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a matrix. I'm going to have like priority and severity. I'm going to add them together basically. And obviously, if they're low, it'll be a low number. If they're high, it'll be a high number. So like the most critical stuff will be on one end, and then the lower will be on the other. And then I have the ticket escalations. Say if it's at this number or below, right, then you assign it to me. Okay, I like that. Okay, cool. We'll do it that way. So we'll have a threshold. Do I have any other requireds here I need to put on here? All right, so we'll have threshold. So we'll say public int threshold. Selection threshold. Is anyone going to understand what that means? We'll just put threshold. Get set. Okay, cool. And what the heck IntelliSense? All right, cool. So the threshold will basically say like, all right, and then can I just add the because this is 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So like the top would be 6, the bottom would be 0. So it's like 0 to 6. So like minor severity. Let me think through this. Minor severity, but a high priority. Would there ever be a case where, all right, so let's say like someone says like this is like like what's something that's critical in priority be minor in severity? It could be. So that would be like 3 points. And so something that would beat it would be like major severity and high priority. Would that work? I'm wondering. And I think this would be and if this were real, what I would have to do is I'd have to go to like the business. I'd have like a partner who is like basically the product owner. I'd ask them. I think that would be okay. And so what I'm basically wondering is if I just add the two enum values together, then the lowest is 0, the highest is 6. And is there any time where it would give me a weird result where it's like this priority or the severity were like mismatched, and it would put it above something that they want to work on. So, for example, if it's critical but it's low priority, I can't imagine someone would say something's both critical and low priority. Well, if they did, that would get 3 points. And it would be beat by something that said it was high priority and major severity. Let's roll with it. All right. I think that would probably be okay. So we'll do threshold. All right, we'll just add the values together. I could make the spread higher. That's just multiplication. That's not going to do anything. So all right, cool. So what do I need? Got the ticket escalation rule has a threshold, and so now I need to go into this handler and I need to do something. All right, so oh gosh, look at the time. Okay, I wanted to keep the stream to about 2 hours so my brain doesn't explode. I do need, but hopefully, like this, got to help you guys see a little bit more of like a workflow, like someone actually working on a real project and what that looks like. This is unscripted. I just opened this up and started working. So basically, where we left off is I'm working on the logic to assign a ticket to a user. And we did some TDD. So we were able to basically write a test that would test whether or not we were able to correctly assign a user to a ticket. I also went over a lot of the things I went over, like the data transfer objects, mediator with commands, queries, and events. Also the state machine, which I'm actually in love with now. I actually love this state machine. This ticket status state machine. It's the stateless library. So it gives me rules for how like the ticket will be able to go from one state to the next, which chef's kiss. And I already did the CRUD for the ticket. So the CRUD functions are done. So now we're working on the business logic. So the next thing I'm gonna work on is assigning the correct people to a ticket based on the escalation rules. All right, so that the proper people will be assigned to a ticket based on how severe the ticket is, and that's going to take a little elbow grease, but we've got everything's pretty much set up. This test, the setup for this test took way longer than I thought it was going to be, but it has a lot of objects. I also did a little modeling of the ticket escalation. So again, I did just do this so you guys can see like this is what devs do like for a real project. So warts and all. Thank you for like hanging out with me. Like I said, if you're trying to break into this industry, I highly recommend it. It's hard. It's harder than it was when I first started out. There was more jobs hanging off of trees than there were. So I'll be honest, you do have to like work a bit harder than you did back in the day. But I'm self-taught. Okay. I don't have a degree in this, and I did not go to a boot camp. So I did do this when I was a teenager, but basically I spent like a decade not doing anything with computers. So had to like relearn everything. So if you're self-taught, like don't be down on yourself. You can 100% do this and rise up the ranks. But I'm planning on streaming every Tuesday. All right, so at around 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, so you guys get to see me fumble through this project some more. Again, this is a .NET API with Angular front end. I'm doing this project in solidarity with my coding bootcamp students who are working on their own final project. And if you like this kind of stuff, check out my channel. I've got a lot of videos on a lot of different topics, some weird, some not so weird. And if you really like my stuff, then visit my website called codingyourcareer.com. Where I've got more videos and stuff on different subjects. All right. Anyway, that's the time my throat is getting hoarse. So I'm going to end the stream right here. And hopefully next time we pick up, we'll be able to do more business logic and do more mediator stuff. Have a lovely evening, people.